Thank you, Congressman Brown, who with his colleagues in the House has worked to pass legislation to raise wages, pass legislation to get us universal background checks, pass legislation to deal with prescription drug prices, and all the other things we need as a country, only to see it gummed up in Mitch McConnell's Senate with no support from the President of the United States. One of many reasons we need a better president as well as a better Senate, and that's what 2020 is going to last for. Thank you, Jill, for your leadership and your commitment to public education. And thank you to Antonia and everybody in our phenomenal team for the work that you are doing as we pull into these final days. As we have traveled across Iowa, I think this is about our 11th or 12th town hall on this latest trip. I am seeing Iowans that I've been meeting for the last year. The same ones who a year ago were saying things like, "Who are you?" And then 9 months ago was, "How do I say your name?" And then 6 months ago it's like, "All right, this is going pretty well. You're in my top 7 or so now." And now it's decision time. And I'm meeting others who have clearly had other things going on and not been following the blow-by-blow of the presidential nominating process for the last year, but are now ready to make that decision, that incredibly important decision that is coming up in a few days. I'm here to ask you to caucus for me on February 3rd because of what is at stake for our country, because of the need not only to turn the page on where we are, to be ready for what comes next. So I always begin by asking those I meet to picture, as clearly as you can, what's going to be like in this country that first day that the sun comes up over Council Bluffs and Donald Trump is no longer the President of the United States. Soon enough. Just to put the chaos behind us, the meanness behind us. Wouldn't it be nice to put the tweets behind us? And the thing is, I'm meeting a lot of Democrats and a lot of independents and an awful lot of what I like to call future former Republicans who are equally ready to make sure we bring that day back. That day about, why not nominate somebody who lives in a middle-class neighborhood in the middle of the American Midwest who can talk about what's going on for our workers and for our farms, and who's not afraid to call out a president who found himself unable to serve due to bone spurs, and talk about what service really means. Having said all that, the truth is, you won't see me talking about this president most of the time. And the reason for that is I think every election at the end of the day is about, not the president, not any of the candidates. It's about voters asking this basic question. How is my life going to be different if you're president instead of you? And the thing is, the less we're caught up talking about him, the more we're talking about you, and the more we're talking about you, the more we're going to win. So let's talk about that day, that sunrise I was talking about, and think about what we're going to need from our president on that day. We're going to need a president ready to unify the American people, who will be as divided or more than we are today. Determined to stitch together that fabric of our nation that's been torn up in so many ways. And at the same time, ready to take on the big issues that we face. A divided nation where we are told to celebrate the economy because the Dow Jones is looking good. But more and more Americans find it's impossible just to hold on to what we've got. A country where we got kids learning active shooter drills before they were old enough to learn how to read. That needs action. And And so whenever I think about these issues folks are talking about, I don't think of it in terms of who got off the best singer on television. I'm thinking about the people that it means something to. When we hear about the issues of war and peace that we're debating as a country right now, I think about the people that I served with, some of whom are serving today. I think about the senior enlisted leader I met just a few days ago, bumped into her in the airport in Los Angeles. Hadn't seen her in more than 5 years. Hadn't seen her since she got injured in an insider attack while we were both in Afghanistan. And she was walking with her teenage son through the airport. She was wearing a t-shirt from the Wounded Warrior Project that says, "Some assembly required." And when I asked her how she was doing, she lifted her knee and gave a cheerful tap on her prosthetic leg. And then told me about the deployment that she's going into in a few months and that she's looking forward to. She will do whatever is required of her by the needs of the United States of America, which is why she deserves a president who will never send any of our troops into harm's way if it can be avoided, and her family deserves that too. Speaking of national security, when I think about keeping this country safe, I think about how that starts right here at home. And I think about whether we are ready as a country to make good on our commitment to keep this country safe by making sure that the Second Amendment can no longer be twisted into an excuse to do nothing at all about common sense reforms that would save thousands and thousands of lives, like background checks and red flags. Seeing the faces of the family members, it has been my responsibility to try to console as we have lost lives, often teenage lives, to gun violence in my city. I think about a 13-year-old, tears streaming down his face at a campaign event, asking me what we're doing to keep him safe, and thinking that the only real responsible answer is that anybody old enough to vote ought to take care of this and worry about this so he doesn't have to and can concentrate on being a kid. That's what this is about. We think about climate change. I'm not just thinking about the science of it that is so important and the policies we got to change. I'm thinking about the family that I saw on the porch of a house destroyed in our city by a flood that was supposed to be the kind of flood that happens once in a millennium. Looking at me as we were working through emergency response in her neighborhood, the night before the first day of school, as their possessions floated by on the lower level of her house, saying, "What am I supposed to do with my kids?" And then, our city experiencing another once-in-a-millennium flood the very next year. This is a matter of national security, and we must lead the world in doing something about climate change. Thinking about the issues at stake in our economy, I'm not just thinking about the numbers going up and down on a page. I'm thinking about people like the guy I met at Bettendorf, who's got a full-time job, but he's driving for DoorDash too. Because he said, everybody's got to have a side job these days. As if we were living in a time of national hardship and not a momentous economic recovery. That's why when I'm president, we're going to measure the performance of our economy not by how the Dow Jones is doing or even the gross domestic product. We're going to measure it by the income growth of the 90%, because an economy that's not getting to us is not a good economy. I'm thinking about the issues that animate this campaign. I'm thinking about them one person at a time, because that's what Iowa does. That's what this process has done for us presidential candidates. This isn't about what's happening on television. This is about what's happening to us in our everyday lives. I've experienced politics in not only as somebody who's been in office, but in the ways that it has shaped my life. The way that my family's access to health care has been affected. by the Affordable Care Act, the fact that I was sent to war by a U.S. president, the fact that I could not be wearing this ring if it were not for one vote on the U.S. Supreme Court, and a decade before that, some people right here in Iowa who created opportunity for others. Watch this president trying to act as though being a Christian meant you got to belong to his political party. I keep thinking about kids I'm meeting who are low-income and food-insecure families finding their access to food stamps threatened, and hear the words ringing in my ears, "I was hungry and you did not feed me." I'm thinking about an 8-year-old boy in our area of Indiana who had to look in the eye and try to tell something comforting after his father, who had nothing more, not even a parking ticket against his name, a popular business owner who'd been in our community for 20 years, got deported as soon as this president came. And I can't help but think I was a stranger and you did not welcome me. It's in the name of the people who are affected by these policies that I think we must stand up and insist once and for all that God does not belong to a political party in the United States of America. Thinking about racial and economic inequality in this country. I'm not just thinking about the numbers on a page. I'm thinking about minority business owners who, to a person, tell me that in order to get up and running, they couldn't get a loan, so they had to start their businesses with cash. I'm thinking about people like Tashana Ward in Milwaukee, who lost her life after going into the ER with symptoms that were classic heart attack warnings, but was told to wait. And the fact that so many African-American patients are not believed when they are describing being in pain, helping add to a crisis in health equity in this country. We have got to be a country that acts to make sure there is never an impact on your life expectancy that's on your way. Or your ability to start business. Or your relationship with law enforcement. Every one of these issues matters because it matters in our everyday lives, from the biggest issues of war and peace to the things that come in at our most intimate level into our workplaces and even into our marriages. And what I've seen in Iowa has shown me time and time again just how much hope we ought to have. I know it's strange to use a word like hope at a time like this with our politics being the way it is, but let me explain what I mean. Yes, this is a nation that is divided and that is fearful and is up against an awful lot in terms of the problems that we face. But this is also a nation where a majority of people are ready to come together and do the right thing. Not only the American majority that's ready for a new and better president, but an American majority that is ready to step forward and make sure the life of this country is a better one, that wants to see the culture of exclusion being driven by this White House replaced by one of belonging. I have learned that from Iowans. From over the summer, when I was doing an event in a high schooler named Bridget came. In fact, it's usually high schoolers I learn most from, come to think of it. Bridget came up to me and let me know our campaign told her that she belonged more than she realized. She didn't have to be ashamed to be in school. She didn't have to be ashamed of herself just because she had autism. Now, we hadn't talked about autism very much in the campaign, but we talked an awful lot about belonging. What we're finding is that people of radically different life experiences can look to one another and see the opportunity to build that sense of belonging. I learned it again, once again from a high school student a couple days ago in Emmitsburg, where we were doing a town hall. And this young woman, about 15 years old, blonde, raised her hand and started to ask about border policy. And the reason she wanted to know about border policy, she didn't look like somebody who spent a lot of time on the border. But she described how a few years earlier her father had walked out on her family. And that meant she knew exactly what it means when a family is separated. She understood what family separation means for a 6-year-old Guatemalan boy somewhere on the border with Texas because of what happened to her and her family in Emmitsburg, Iowa. Think about what that might teach the rest of us. About the way we can find in our own experience, in our own story, the means to seek out, with compassion and with intention, ways to make life better for those around us. That's happening across Iowa and across the world. And doesn't that sound like the antidote to what we're getting out of the White House right now? The Midwest is so much more forward-looking than I think a lot of people understand. I see it all the time. I think somewhere in here might be somebody I met in Shenandoah. I heard he was going to be here. My Shenandoah friends here? Andrew around? Hey, thanks for coming. I got one of those precinct cap buttons on too. That's a very good sign. I remember Andrew because over the summer we were campaigning in Shenandoah, and it was so hot that day too. We were in this barn. Must have been 100 degrees outside and 110 inside. And he stuck up his hand and was asking about how farming could be at the forefront of fighting climate change, which is exactly the right question to be asking at a time like this, because we can't get this issue tackled unless everybody in every sector of America, from industry to building trades, to the military, to volunteer service, to farming, is on the cutting edge of dealing with this. I was in Storm Lake and I saw the Parade of Nations, where they have on July 4th, as part of their July 4th parade, floats from 20 different countries of origin, the people living there, keeping that economy up and running. Nobody needs to tell them about the importance of the U.S. being connected to the rest of the world. At a moment when we got a president saying America first, which really means America alone. Folks, all around us know better, because we have common sense and we have compassion. And that's why I believe that Iowa is poised once again to make history. That the same state that helped extend the right to marry across the land, this same state that took a chance on a young guy with a funny name who a lot of folks didn't think could win 12 years ago, that this state could help us make history one more time. So, that's why I'm here. That's why I'm asking for your support, and that's what I think is at stake in this election. There are a whole bunch of issues that deserve our attention, but hopefully I gave you first just a sense of the values and the people who have shaped this campaign. But so that we can get into the issues that are on your mind, we've been gathering up questions as you were coming in. And I would like you to welcome back one of our organizers who you met before. By the way, don't we have the nicest organizers and volunteers? And if you're one of our campaign staff or one of our precinct leaders, please give a quick wave so people can see and know to come up to you afterwards if you want to get involved. So, to share your questions and guide our conversation in the Q&A, please welcome Antonia back to the stage.
All right, the first question is from Amy. How do you plan to unify the country?
All right, so important. Amy, if you're here, give away, by the way. I want to make sure. Hi. So, hopefully you can sense that part of it is just the tone and the message and the way the president talks and what the president does, and for that matter, what the president doesn't do. And we are trying to show versus tell, to model in the approach of this campaign how that unity is going to come about. But there are also things we can do in terms of policy that would help. And I'll give you an example. When I served overseas, I was with people who were radically different. I mean, different racial backgrounds, different generations, different regions, very, very different politics. And we learned to trust each other with our lives. If they were getting in my vehicle, getting ready to go outside the wire someplace, they did not care if I was a Democrat or a Republican. They did not care if I was going home to a girlfriend or a boyfriend. They did not care what country my dad immigrated from. They just want to know if I can do my job, to keep them safe, and vice versa. And I want every American to have that experience of getting to know others without having to go to war in order to get them. So that's the idea of creating 1 million paid voluntary national service opportunities a year. A way for everyone to have a chance to be a part of something bigger than themselves, to meet Americans very different from them. And through that, not only to do good work, but also to have a touchstone that will be with them for the rest of their lives. Just as Congressman Brown and I can give each other some good-natured joshing over our shared military experience, even though we served in different branches and in different conflicts. We just have that thing in common. And national service, civilian national service, can do that too. Another thing is we just plain need to have more shared interactions. We need to have more shared things. Now, historically, at its best, one of the kinds of institutions that has helped us in order to have something in common across our communities is access to excellent quality public education. Because people from different walks of life live in schools. That's one of the many, many reasons why we need a Secretary of Education who believes in public education and supports that. Is that we're going to talk to everyone. Again, in this campaign is a way of showing how I seek to do it as president. It's why you're not just going to see me on political talk shows, you're going to see me on TNT. You're not just going to see me in Iowa City, you're going to see me in 80% Trump country. You're not just going to see me on MSNBC, you're going to see me on Fox News, because we need to reach everybody where they are and make this one conversation.
What makes you the best candidate to beat Trump?
All right. Joe, here. All right, thanks for coming. And I think that might be the #1 question on a lot of folks' minds. They look us over. I think of the voter who said, I gave my whole stump speech, listened to the whole thing, and then he got up and he said, you seem great, but I'd vote for my neighbor's dog if I thought that's who could beat Donald Trump more than again. So again, partly, I think, part of how we beat this president is to put up somebody who's a little more connected in everyday life. Look, I was in office, I was mayor, but I'm a mayor of a city. You know, a lot of folks are asking me, what makes you think you can do this? You know, your city's not even one of the biggest cities in the country. And I always say, that's kind of the point. We need a voice from the middle of the country and from that kind of community that's been spoken to by this president, but then he's turned his back. I mean, a year ago, I was driving my Chevy to work, leading a comparatively normal life. I don't need an elaborate system of focus groups to help me figure out what's going on in the middle class. I can just ask my neighbors or my husband. As we're doing the bills at the end of the month. I'm not a millionaire. I'm not a senator. I come at these things from the perspective of being a mayor who has to. When you're a mayor, you got to eat what you cook. We're on the ground dealing with these things. And I think that's the kind of perspective that will help us compete. It's that I'm determined to reach out to people. I'm never going to pretend to be more conservative than I am, but I'm reaching out to Democrats and independents and Republicans alike, saying we may not agree on everything, but I think we can agree on this, that it's time for a change. And as somebody who has had the experience of guiding a so-called Rust Belt community through an economic transformation, of wearing the uniform of this country, of looking out my window and seeing in the office and seeing the ethanol plant in our city, which is why I know what's at stake when this president's jerking people around with these refinery waivers they're doing. I can confront him on his own terms. But even more important, as I said before, once I do, I will have the discipline to make sure that the subject does not remain him and whatever he wants to distract us with. It's us and how to make our lives better, and I believe that's how we're going to do it.
Are you going to make global warming one of your top priorities?
Great question. Lily? There you are. So, as you can hopefully tell from my opening remarks, this is a very important issue. Let me share a little more, since I talked a little bit about why it's so important. Let me mention one other thing, actually, about why it's important. Now, so the scientists tell us that if we don't take a lot of big steps by 2030, we're going to be in huge trouble by 2050. Now, if the scientific deadline is 2030, I think that means the real deadline is a political deadline of 2020. Because if we don't have a president who believes in climate science, right away, we'll never hit those other targets. That's why so much is at stake in this election more than any other. So what do we actually do about it? Well, as I said before, part of it is with farming, carbon capture, cover crops. But we can't just encourage farmers to do it or pressure farmers to do it. We should pay farmers to do it. If we can find billions of dollars to pay farmers not to sell their goods to China, then surely we can find the funding to help farmers lead the way in China. And the other thing is, look, I got a plan, I got a whole white paper, you ought to check it out on PeteForAmerica.com if you're interested in the technical measures of what we got to do. For example, we can double renewable energy going into the grid by 2025, whereas certain things around heavy transportation have to happen later on the path because all the steps to get there. But the idea is in 2050, we are carbon neutral as a society. But in order to make any of those things happen, we got to make this into a national project, the kind of thing that cuts across parties, and the kind of thing that everybody sees where they fit. There are too many people in our country who think that accepting climate science would be accepting defeat, might even be saying that they're bad by accepting this scientific reality, which is why we've got to let the very same people, from industrial workers to people in the trades to farmers, know that actually we need to recruit them into the solution. We're going to create 3 million net new jobs, and a lot of them are going to be in industry. Industry will have to change, for sure. But we're creating jobs as we go. And by the way, a lot of the jobs I'm talking about, these are not all, rappelling off one of these windmills is pretty cool. But I'm also talking about union electrical workers and glaziers and insulators, jobs that are perfectly understandable today. We're going to need more of them just to get our buildings ready. So this has to be a national mobilization, a national project. And one other thing about that national project that we got to undertake is we got to lead the world in doing it. We're only 1/5 of the emissions. So we can't do it alone. But we're the biggest economy, which means the world can't do it without us. And wouldn't it be nice, given how tattered and torn our credibility around the world is, if the world saw us leading the way on dealing with the greatest threat to our well-being?
This question's from Abby. The rules of the road have been a big part of your campaign. How might they shape your administration?
Wonderful. Abby, thanks for coming. Thanks for bringing up the rules of the road. Oh, you've actually got the shirt. So would you mind kind of showing off that? I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but it's one of my favorite shirts. It is a list of the values that guide this campaign. We call them the rules of the road. And we ask everybody from our volunteers to our organizers to make sure that they're thinking about living out those values all the time. The very first one is respect. Respect for each other, respect for the process, respect for our competitors, respect for the office, respect for everybody we meet. And it is so important, of course, that we have a president who has a sense of respect and decency. Sometimes whether the current president respects himself in his own office, just by the way they act. Another one is truth. The importance of telling the truth and being ready to hear the truth, especially when it's hard. In fact, one of the main job qualifications for anybody in my cabinet, in addition to making sure that it is a diverse body that reflects the makeup of our country, is truth-telling. Because in order to make difficult decisions, you need to hear not just what you'd like to hear, but what you've got to hear. And so truth will be very important in the administration as a qualification for serving. Belonging, as we said earlier, I think is so important. The president can send a message of belonging, or the reverse. And as we go through those values, I've come to realize the best way to demonstrate what it'll look like in my presidency is to show how we seek to live up to them in our campaign. Even when it's hard, whether it's internal conversations we have about how to do a better job of creating belonging for everybody who works on the campaign, to making sure that we sometimes grit our teeth when there's a little negativity going around online and hold fast to that idea of respect and discipline, which is another one of those values. That can be hard. And without having the time to go through each of these values that are so important to us, I want to mention the one that we end the list with is joy. And again, I know joy is probably a funny word to use at a time like this in a process like presidential politics, but we should be able to seek and find the joy of interacting with fellow Americans and taking part in the most remarkable process of democracy anywhere in the world. And similarly, our White House will seek to spread a sense of joy and joyful encounter with fellow Americans and build that up as an important part of the culture of this country. Because with that, it can create a little more of what calls out to what is best in us and makes all of the particular policy things we've got to get done just a little bit easier. Thanks so much for asking.
This question's from Tony. What is the first thing you will focus on your first 100 days in office?
All right. Tony? Hi. So, it's going to be a busy 100 days. First of all, there's going to be a lot of executive orders that will need to be reversed. Let me mention, I know you said one, but I'm going to mention three kind of categories of issues that need a lot of attention. We already talked about climate. That's one that needs action right away. I mean, day one, we're getting back into the Paris Climate Accord. So that's just a good. Another set of issues is around democracy. Not sexy, it's process, but it's so important. Because right now, we got districts showing where politicians are picking out their voters instead of the other way around. We got money playing a role in politics to where it can almost outvote people. For my diamond in democracy, it would be fitting if one day we chose our president by just counting up all of the votes and giving it to the person who got the most votes. We need a 21st Century Voting Rights Act to deal with the patterns of racial voter suppression that are going on to this day. So it comes early because it's the issue of how we deal with all our issues. And some stuff we can get to work on right away. Making Election Day a holiday and making it easier to register to vote and exercise that right. Other things will take a generation to deliver. I'm not naive about what it'll take to reform the structure of the Supreme Court or deliver a national popular vote. Perhaps a constitutional amendment is what it'll really take to overturn Citizens United and get money out of politics. All the more reason to start working on day one. So that's democracy, it's climate, and the other thing is racial and income inequality in this country. We need to get to work right away. There are all these sophisticated debates over the biggest problem in our economy. And there's a lot going on with automation, globalization, various complex things. But to me, the really big problem in our economy is people aren't getting paid enough. It's actually abundantly simple. Add to that the racial income gaps and the racial wealth gaps didn't just happen on their own, and they're not going to go away on their own. You've got to have intention about this, and that's why everything from the Frederick Douglass plan to dismantle systemic racism in this country, to the need to deliver paid family leave, close the gender pay gap, and raise the minimum wage and empower union organizing are so important. We've got to work on that
This will be the last question.
Oh, no. Let's do two more. I'll try to be concise.
All right. Since women are the majority of the registered voters, how do you propose to win the women's vote?
All right.
That's why Elizabeth.
All right. Elizabeth? All right. Well, first of all, you're right. And it is so important for me to seek to earn the support of women by demonstrating our commitment to the political and social and economic empowerment. That's why I just mentioned the gender pay gap. That's not just doubling resources for dealing with discrimination. It's also making sure that we are taking steps to deal with the unofficial ways the gender pay gap gets worse, like the lack of child care that prompts a lot of women to step out of the workforce, and then when they get in, they never quite catch up. It means dealing with harassment. It sometimes drives women to leave a job for a less well-paying job because they just got to get out of their workplace. We got to act on it. We got to act on making sure there's representation. I think my campaign is a better campaign because most of the people working on it are women. And my cabinet, I commit, will be at least 50%. support of freedom than just cutting every regulation and tax and program out there. One of my bedrock commitments to freedom in this country is making sure we keep government out of the business of dictating to women what their reproductive health care is.
Now this is a question for the audience. It is the mayor's birthday tomorrow. So everyone join me in singing happy birthday. And 1, 2, 3.
Thank you. I did not expect that, and that's very kind. One more time for Antonia and everybody on our staff. So, if you feel exhausted by the spectacle of what you're seeing on TV, the Senate telling you to take as a foregone conclusion anything that's even said there, I'm here because this is our chance to do something different. And I hope through the course of tonight, you have an understanding not only of where I seek to lead this country, but of what it's going to take to turn the page. And more than anything else, I believe it's that sense of hope that propels us to be involved. I know why hope went out of style for a little bit in our political vocabulary, but I also believe that it's not for nothing that they took the word hopeful, turned it into a noun, and used it as another word for us candidates coming through your state right now. We're the hopefuls. 2020 hopefuls, right? It's because running is an act of hope. And so is helping somebody along. So can I look to you to spread the sense of hope that is needed in order to bring back change in this country? And are you ready to turn the page and deliver a better future for America? And are you ready for Iowa to make history one more time? And if you make me the next president of the United States, I will do everything in my power to make you proud, and we will look back on 2020 with pride. Thank you for being here.